Hello, I'm talking to you again about surviving the coronavirus, and the other videos I've done really dealing with the difficult people and that you've been quarantined with. But as we're starting to come out of the complete lockdown, I'm shifting that a little and looking at it to just surviving the virus, not necessarily getting the virus, but just all of the circumstances that have surrounded this unprecedented time, with all this uncertainty that we've had, with all the fear that we've had to deal with, the fear that has been stimulated by the really dire predictions, and then the unknowns, and then the lockdown, which we've never really experienced before. And now we're in the midst of these national protests and riots, and there's just so much uncertainty all around us. So what do we do facing your fears? Facing your fears is one of my 10 relationship changing principles, but facing our fears also has to do with things that we deal with that aren't 100% related to relationships. So it's really both. The lockdown has been, I believe today was day 73, which different states, of course, have different levels of lockdown. People are affected in different ways. We've gone through the isolation, the loneliness, the fear of getting the virus. The fear of getting the virus is still lurking out there. There still are some unknowns, the masks all around us, and the differences in our communities are daily reminders of what's going on. And the first reaction to seeing that unknown and the question of potentially being exposed to the virus, being affected to the virus, and then for those of us that have family members and friends that are not in our immediate area, but that are other places that maybe even are working around people that have the virus in the hospitals, or if they're out in the community. All of these things are worries and concerns that we have kind of on our minds. Then we can include in that the financial dynamic of so many people being out of work. And this isn't even just, for the United States, but all over the world, people are affected by this. And some of the places, or many of the places where they're already struggling with poverty, this has made it even worse. So there is a lot to be afraid of, but the dynamics of dealing with that fear, of facing that fear, haven't changed regardless of what it is that we are dealing with. And I know that there are some people who have, in fact, just this week, I've heard multiple people share with me that people in their loved ones who have mental illnesses have had big exacerbations of those illnesses due to the isolation and the fear, especially those with anxiety. This makes their anxiety worse. Those with depression, the isolation causes the depression to be worse, and many other things. So there are certainly pressures on every side. And then with the different ways that the government is handling it, cut off from the people that are our support systems, the inability to go to church, to go back to our jobs in the normal way, not knowing if our kid's going to go to school. I mean, all of that's a lot. But fear is not new to us. Fear is not new to this circumstance. Facing our fears, dealing with fear, is a part of living. There's a lot of uncertainty that we deal with every single day, and yet we manage to get up, get dressed, go do what we need to do, and face our fears and live to the best of our ability each and every day. And that's exactly what we need to do now, but let's break it down even more. So first of all, I want you to understand that fear is a natural biological response. It is protective. It's protective in the sense that it is designed to alert you to the fact that there could be something out there that could hurt you. So basically, your body is alerted to a potential danger, and it could be right in front of you. Like if you're walking down the street and you hear a noise and you kind of jump, and then you stop and you look around and you see what it is, your lower brain gets you aware of the fact that there was an unusual noise and has just grabbed your attention and caused you to focus on it. So fear is protective. Fear is necessary to protect us from threats in our environment. Now, some of those threats aren't that immediate, like I was just telling you about, but maybe something that comes up where you can sort of be aware of it and then maybe push it away. That's what we call denial. It's like when something happens, if you find a lump somewhere in your body, you know that that's something that you need to get checked out. The first response to that lump is to be fearful. Oh my gosh, do I have cancer? What is that lump? But if you allow yourself to push the awareness of that lump completely out of your mind and you never go and you get that lump checked, you are choosing a dangerous path, because feeling that lump and having that feeling of fear has literally possibly saved your life. It's caused you to recognize that there's something that needs to be attended to. And so when you feel that bit of fear, and you may experience that as anxiety, you may experience it as worry, or you could experience it as just actual fear. When you feel that, the purpose isn't to go into denial. It isn't to shut down. It isn't for you to run away. Although if you're in a situation where there's a noise behind you and there is danger, running away could save your life, or fighting. We call that fight or flight. And there's actually a third one. It's called freeze. So fight, flight, or freeze. All of those can be protective responses. You've seen animals or even lizards that are kind of running and then they hear a noise and they stop, and it's designed to protect them from their predator, so the predator doesn't see them moving, which would give away where they are. So they try to camouflage or hide or not move, so you think that maybe the predator thinks that they're dead or something. So all of this is protective and it's instinctual, it's at a lower brain level. But then when we start thinking about our fears, that's more in our higher brain, to where we can reason and problem solve. So fight, flight, or freeze. Those are instant responses that our lower brain manages. But again, by feeling the fear to begin with, we have been alerted there's a problem. So the question is, what do you do with those? So when you recognize that there's something that's nagging at you, something that feels fearful, rather than being paralyzed, number one, feel the fear. Okay, feel it. Allow yourself always, always to feel the emotions that are, whether they're right up there, underneath the surface, whatever it is, you want to feel your emotions. Then the second thing you want to do is you want to kind of identify what is going on. Why am I feeling this fear? What are the circumstances? What is it that has triggered this fear? Sometimes we feel fear and we don't need to, but we've got to figure that out. We've got to figure out if that's just a nagging discomfort, or just maybe stress, or something that we've interpreted wrongly from something that's going on. So it's up to us to discern and to figure out, where is this fear coming from? Now, can you force the fear away? No, you can't. I mean, you don't want to just ignore the feeling. You want to literally work through the feeling. You want to figure it out. What is it that I am concerned about? What am I feeling uncomfortable with? What am I worried about? So what we do is you break it down. You identify, what is that? And then when you have something that you're afraid of, the best thing to do is to embrace it and recognize it, and then look at it and say, what part of this is imminent? Imminent meaning it's going to happen, it's going to happen soon. That needs to be attended to first. If there's anything you can do to respond to that, do it. That would be if you're walking on the street and somebody jumps out at you. First thing that you would need to do if there was a genuine threat would maybe be to run or to yell for help. Okay, so that would be your imminent threat. Now, sometimes the fear is more lingering and nagging. It's kind of worry about what could happen in the future. Maybe it's a financial problem that's related to this coronavirus. You haven't been working, you've got a business that's going to be in trouble. And so basically recognizing, okay, this is my finances. This is something that is going on with finances. I'm worried about finances. So what do you do with that? Well, the first thing you do is you break it down. You break the situation, the fear, the concern down into very small units. And then we do what's called first things first, or do the next indicated thing. So maybe you're worried about your bank account. If you're worried about your bank account, rather than worry it, maybe the best thing to do is to let that little nagging thought there drive you to go online and check the balance in your account. Maybe check and see if you've drawn too much money out, or if you've got lingering checks that are not going to be able to cash, or maybe you need to transfer money from your savings into your bank account. So you would need to attend to that. And by having that concern or that worry, just reminded you to go do that. Next indicated thing is basically the thing that needs to be done first. Not all of it. It's not your whole financial problem. If you have an illness, it's not all of the recovery. It's first thing. First thing with that lump, make a doctor's appointment, right? First thing. Some people go first thing to the internet. That just gets them more worried when they look up things. But first thing you do with that is you just make the doctor's appointment. And then, don't try to worry it and worry about it and bring it up and figure it all out until you go to the doctor and get a diagnosis from the doctor. So that would be taking care of that. And you're not going to, we have to control our minds. Not going to go ahead and think, oh, okay, I'm going to have cancer and this is what I'm going to do. And, I'm not going to make it. No, it's like, you're not there yet. Don't go there, right? First thing, go to the doctor. Second thing, wait till the doctor gives you a diagnosis and then deal with that. And then how do you deal with that? First thing. First indicated thing, right? Each step of the way. Every day is a series of 24 hours, each consisting of 60 minutes, consisting of 60 seconds. Every single one of us, no matter how hard any one of those days has been in our lives, and we have all had very difficult days, we have made it through each one. And we've done it by doing one little thing at a time, breaking it down. The more stressed you are, the more fearful you are, the more upset you are, the smaller increments that you break things down. Sometimes I've lived a second at a time, sometimes a minute at a time, sometimes a day at a time. And sometimes I'm not in that place and I just live, right? Each of us has times that we're going to be in that stressful place and we're not in those stressful places. So you want to feel the fear. You want to figure it out. Why? Why am I feeling this fear? Then when you're facing it, you're going to take the first step, then you're going to take the next step, you're going to take the next step until you've done everything you can possibly do to proactively deal with the fear, to follow through on what you can do ahead of time, to set yourself up into the best possible situation. But then when we're facing fear, there's always a certain part of that fear that's unknown. Okay, so if we're looking at the coronavirus and we're concerned about how much longer the shutdown is going to be in various states or cities, concerned about our finances, concerned about loved ones who are working in dangerous situations that might be exposed, or maybe ourselves, if you have immunocompromised, you're making different decisions than people, you're not going out, maybe you're still being careful around your elderly relatives. So everybody is at a different level with that, making their own judgments, making their most rational, determined decision based on what they have determined, based on taking all the different medical advice that's out there, all of the different government advice, all of the different opinions, and looking at them, doing your own research, and coming up with your own decision, which you have the right to do as an individual, and figuring out for you, how are you choosing to live in the midst of this situation? You get to choose, right? Some people are still very fearful and still staying away and isolating, and some are not. Each of us has a right to live that according to how we think we need to manage this. So ultimately, when you're doing that, then there's a certain element of the fear that you have to let go. You've got to let go, and you've just got to trust. You've got to trust God with your future. You've got to trust the people that you've put your life in their hands, whether it's doctors or loved ones or people that you're depending on or people that are helping to take care of you, whatever that is, right? You've got to let go and you've got to trust. You've got to turn over the outcome to God, turn over the outcome to whatever it is that will help you let go of the things that you cannot control. Okay, let go of those things that are beyond your ability to handle, your ability to foresee, your ability to control and to know. There's always going to be an element of those things in our lives, literally always. We cannot allow that fear of those things and how they're going to work out and the what ifs and the maybes and the could be's. We're not going to allow those things to paralyze us to where we're literally unable to live, unable to enjoy our lives, unable to make decisions, move forward. There's always a certain element of risk. So all of us are trusting each day certain things that we don't know and that we don't see. And keeping that in mind helps us to minimize the fear that we feel over specific situations, to remind us that there are no specific guarantees with anything. And there is always a certain amount of trust and turning over of the outcome of things. So you do not have to be paralyzed by fear. You can face your fear during the coronavirus, during whatever it is that you're facing in your life. So I believe this is going to be, as we're coming out of lockdown now, I decided this is going to be my last coronavirus video. So I hope that they've been helpful, and I just want to direct you to my channel, Change My Relationship. I have almost 200 videos there that help you deal with difficult relationships, difficult people, difficult dynamics, how to get healthy in the midst of those dynamics. And then my website, changemyrelationship.com, which has all my studies, all my books, all of my free devotionals and things up there that are resources for you to make your difficult relationships and life better. Okay, God bless. Thanks for watching me during this time. And I know that you're going to be able to face your fears boldly and courageously. Thank you.